This is basically a story about hedonism, about enjoyment and enjoying life, about the small things that make life worth living. And the last chapter really dunked into that again. This manga is just crazy. I mean, Chainsaw Man stands out from its peer as a shonen series in many regards. So it is a series that's published, serialized in the magazine Weekly Shonen Jump alongside other famous shonen series like
One Piece, Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Kimetsu no Yaiba,
and whatnot. So what makes it odd? Well, it is to some degree the violence. I mean, yes, there are some outliers when it comes to how much of grotesque violence and in detail violence of splattered guts and brains there is in a shonen series and what flies. But above that, it is the explicit and implicit reference for sex, sexuality, the explicit language, and the overall very mature and adult tone that conversations have, battles have, and how the story handles getting rid of characters, having even pivotal characters die. We get introduced to that very early in the series with Aki dying. Spoiler for the anime only watchers. For Power, who gets offed by Makima, and ultimately Makima herself. So fan favorite characters get offed, get killed, die. And that leaves basically only Denji as the main central character, as the protagonist to survive up to now. And it seems to be a world where everything goes and everyone can die, and at the same time it takes itself not really too serious. And I stated my theory that the base theme, the central theme of Chainsaw Man is hedonism, that this is basically a story about hedonism, about enjoyment and enjoying life, about the small things that make life worth living. And the last chapter really dunked into that again, with Denji in the movie theater being kind of like hooked up with that random girl from his school. And it seems all as if Denji had grown a bit, but then he gets into that old habit of his and does basically what he's being told to do, and sucking that devil's tentacle as if it's a popsicle. And then the transition to them singing karaoke and that crazy batshit ridiculous song. And I thought, what even that? I really tried to read out the lyrics and at the same time keep track with what Denji is saying, and then keep following the lyrics while some dudes come jumping in with aluminium bats, what it seems, trying to get the better out of Denji, and Denji just beats the shit out of them just for that crazy girl to join in towards the end of the chapter. I mean, that's just crazy. That's just so super crazy. And then I read the comment section, and it seems like there's a real song this is like based off of. There's a real song that girl is doing the karaoke of, and someone posted the link to that song on YouTube. I mean, it's a crazy song, and people say, yeah, that's like the next level craziness, like some JoJo stuff. I feel kind of rickrolled by this manga by now. Like, it's enjoyable, but how serious can we really take it? And I tell you, don't take it too serious. It's like, if you don't expect anything, you'll be in it for good rides. I think that's Chainsaw Man by now. And I totally roll with that. But on a serious note, what can we seriously expect of the story? So I think making weekly predictions makes absolutely no sense. Making predictions for individual characters, what they do, where they are, what their alliances are, doesn't really make much sense, as I don't feel comfortable in making any kind of predictions that regard. And what I feel like is possible to do is a long-term prediction where the story is gonna go, and I feel the story is gonna hit more serious notes again, and we will probably see Asa Mitaka joining with Denji, and probably that's what I believe the other horsemen, the other devils, Nayuta, Fami, who's along with Asa Mitaka, the Famine Devil, and ultimately also Death, the Death Devil. And I don't really believe death to be the ultimate fear. People might think, what's worse than dying? Like, we all have to die at some point, and death, the prospect of dying one day, is what drives humanity. Had driven humans, animals, all organisms, beings. But I think humans, as these complex beings, as these things that kind of have removed themselves from nature, have evolved to develop a fear much worse than just dying. And war shows that. I think people are willing to go into war and risk their lives for something else. And I think the thing that humans fear the most is loss of identity, social connections, and loneliness, and ultimately not amounting to anything in this world, living a life that's basically worth nothing. Um, and I might refer, and I want to refer to Maslow's pyramid of needs, the hierarchy of needs. If you're not familiar with that, it's a very base thing to introduce in psychology, usually first semesters, because it gives one a very good estimate at what makes base needs, and then how certain needs are in hierarchy to each other. So the idea is basically that you need to fulfill certain needs to develop even a feeling or desire for the higher needs. But then there's also some flexibility, some fluidity in the hierarchy, where people can, on a conscious level, neglect their more base, their more primal needs in favor of achieving something higher. And in modern society, I feel death is not always the worst fear we have. Humans live long lives, and of course there is things that can end one's life uh, prematurely, early. Not everyone makes it up to 80 or 90. Not everyone dies of old age. There is still the risk of disease. You might get run over by a car or a truck or stuff like this, or get hit by an asteroid or whatnot, or bitten by a rabid animal. I don't know, or get eaten by a bear when you're hiking in the woods. I mean, you can fall off something and break your neck, sure, but I think when humans walk through life in their everyday life in modern societies, most humans don't think consciously about dying, about death day by day. So while death and the prospect of dying one day is a driving force, a very, very primal, a very primordial fear, still it is, I think it is not the highest, not the greatest fear that drives humans. And I really want to see the mangaka, the author, pull out something that he defines as humanity's greatest fear, and something that I would like to not feel like an ass pull, where readers can really agree with that, and sit there nodding when reading the panels and be like, yeah, yeah, that really drives humans. Like that's some deep shit, man. And I want that. I want the manga to turn that way and to kind of give a message that um, that there is something beyond hedonism, because I feel, yes, while that's the central theme as far as I see it for Chainsaw Man, I would want there to be something behind hedonism. While I think there is merit in just enjoying life the way life is, making life worth living through enjoyment itself, and that just life itself is about enjoying life and making life the best life you can have. I think there's something more. If it would be just that, we would just laying in bed and playing video games, watching Netflix and eating chips would be all right. That would be enough. But people crave more. I think people crave satisfaction. And if you look at Maslow's pyramid of needs, the highest point, the highest level, the pinnacle is basically self-realization. And I think self-realization, the opposite would be failing to self-realize yourself, failing to be or to become the thing you envision yourself to be in society, and basically becoming a failed individual. And a purely hedonistic individual, in my opinion, is to some degree a failed individual, as that is an individual that just lives for itself alone and not for others, not contributing to others, not helping others, not living in a social situation, not in a social environment. And I'm not a socialist person, but I do believe in the necessity, in the value of human connections, of deep and trustworthy, strong human connections, of bonds. And I really hope that the manga is pushing towards that, becoming the driving force that basically unites devils and humans against humanity's biggest fear, against the devils that represents humanity's biggest fear. And I hope that A, the story returns to a serious note, but also B, solves that up and gives basically the reader a layer behind the current layer to digest. If that makes sense what I'm saying. Now I've delved a teeny bit more into philosophy and psychology than I did in my previous video. I don't want to drench you and shower you into these things, but I think that's something more to look into when talking about Chainsaw Man than talking about power levels and scaling and predictions about what characters will do, say, or how they will develop in terms of personality. I think it's more about the message in this case. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this take on Chainsaw Man, which I do believe is just a crazy manga, but it is just so enjoyable to me. And I felt more about I felt more that I wanted to put out videos about Chainsaw Man recently. Um, I might not do that so regularly as about other series, but if I feel like it, if I feel enlightened about an aspect of that manga, I'm gonna put out another video. So thank you for tuning in, and have a nice day. Bye.